I'll begin the news at this hour with a little bit of politics as we tell you that the leadership of the All Progressive Congress in Osun State has declared that a former governor of the state, Aregbesola, is no longer a member of the party in the state. The Osun APC also said that the Omoluabi Progressives Group, which is one of the caucuses of the major opposition party being led by Aregbesola, is unknown to the party and warned members against associating with the group or registering with it. The state's APC secretary, Kamaru Alao, during a media briefing at the party secretariat, described Aregbesola as a persona non grata as far as APC Osun is concerned, adding that the former governor has been reported to the National Working Committee of the party for allegedly distracting the party in the state. The ad hoc committee set up by the Kaduna State House of Assembly to investigate all finances, loans and contracts awarded under the former Governor Nasir El-Rufai has submitted its report. Presenting the report during plenary on Wednesday, the chairman of the ad hoc committee, Henry Zachariah, said most of the loans obtained under the El-Rufai's administration were not used for the purpose for which they were obtained. Receiving the report, Speaker of the Kaduna State House of Assembly, Yusuf Liman, said a total 423 billion naira was siphoned by the El-Rufai administration while leaving the state with huge liabilities. The committee therefore recommended the investigation and prosecution of El-Rufai, some other indicted members of his cabinet by security and anti-corruption agencies. A civil society group, the Socialist Movement of Africa and the Rivers Economic Recovery Initiative, is demanding a probe into Nyesom Wike's administration as the governor of Rivers State. The group made this demand while speaking with newsmen in Lagos in the wake of the recent allegations by Governor Siminalayi Fubara that his administration inherited 34 uncompleted road projects worth over 225 billion naira from his predecessor. The group alleged that the ongoing political crisis between both parties is simply a distraction from the corruption allegations. They also demanded a criminal prosecution of anyone found wanting in mismanagement of Rivers State funds, especially in the former governor, Nyesom Wike's administration. Africa is deemed to be a consumption-dependent continent, and research further proves that 1 in 5, and that's about 20% of the world's consumers, will live in Africa in the coming decade. Furthermore, the largest African economy, Nigeria, had a trade deficit of 7.37 trillion naira in 2020, with total imports standing at 5.92 trillion naira in the fourth quarter of 2020, which was an increase of only about 10% compared to the third quarter of the same year. Now, imports accounted for 65% of total trade, while exports accounted for a measly 35%, as revealed by the Nigerian Bureau of Statistics. Now, these data are a pointer to the fact that Nigeria is mostly import dependent, which begs the question, how does a country make a transition from consumption to production? How does it leverage the array of raw materials and natural resources within its borders for increased production? And to answer these questions, I'm being joined by the Executive Director, Not Too Young to Lead Initiative, Elvis Akpobi, who joins me now via video chat. Elvis, many thanks for joining me. You've heard the intro, right? Pertinent questions that need to be asked, but most importantly, let's start with, strategic steps. What strategic steps should Nigeria take to industrialize and shift from a consumption-based to a production-based economy?
Thank you for having me once more this evening. Okay, for me, Nigeria is blessed with rich human natural resources, and there's so much potential for Nigeria. Let me take a leaf from, let me just focus alone on agriculture. If you do a comparative analysis between Nigeria, Rwanda, and Kenya, you find out that today, even Ethiopia, today Ethiopia is getting more. They export what's it called? They export coffee. The money they make from exporting coffee alone helps grow their economy. Their economy, but Nigeria, back in Nigeria, you find out that as far as the fact that we are plagued with insecurity, which has farmers headers clash and banditry, which have made a lot of most of our farmers find it difficult to access their farm, do farm production and all that. You still a large percentage of young people who basically are meant to drive the process, most of our processes are seeking solace in foreign countries. Despite back here we don't have those companies that does more production, you find out that in the Western world they have these companies doing this thing. A young Nigeria would prefer to, dissipate his energy in a factory in a Western country than in Nigeria, owing to the fact that enumeration in producing companies back in Nigeria, when compared to that of the Western countries, the gap is very, very large, and it has affected us mostly when it comes to production. I don't want to talk
So how
about
can we then?
electricity.
So what policy changes are needed to create a more conducive environment for local production and export?
Firstly, we have to deal with our insecurity, and another thing again we must look at is we are blessed with steel, and the world is moving. Renewable energy is the key thing around the globe at the moment. We are blessed with steel. We have lithium, which helps in in production of manufacturing batteries and all that. But today you find out that we import most of these things. Our steel companies, they are not working. The two steel companies I know of, that steel company, that's in Ajakuta, they are not working at the moment. So for me, I think the government should subscribe to maybe PPP, public-private partnership, if the resources are not available, to bring back these companies so that we too can be exporting things, producing things. If God bless us with these natural resources, it's only nice that they are harnessed.
Yeah, Elvis. So what strategies can Nigeria implement then to increase its exports and reduce the trade deficit that you just mentioned?
We should, one, provide good access road. I want to focus on agriculture once more. Good access road to this place, then provide security for mostly the people that are bringing these raw products for manufacturing. Another thing I noticed again is most of our products are undervalued. You take for example, Nigeria is blessed with cassava, but just because we don't increase the value of these products, it will make more profit if we export ethanol, which is gotten from cassava, than just exporting cassava. So for me, it's good. It's time for us to think outside the box, because the overdependence of oil has really affected us. You see, our naira is crashing daily. Our budgets are regulated by increase and decrease in the production value of the crude oil, which for me is not so good. Let's not forget our vast human resource, which is the young people. They are escaping Nigeria because of unenabling environment, and a lot of companies that we employ these young people, they are leaving Nigeria because of irregularities in our policies, political instabilities, and all that. So I think I will urge the president, Bola Ahmed Tinubu's government, to be rigid with their policies, mostly around production.
And you just really pointed out some of the sectors that need to be prioritized, and to move away from oil and gas. But just to reiterate the importance of this, right? For those who are watching, for viewers watching at home, and also for policymakers and those who are in charge of steering the economy of this nation, which sectors should Nigeria prioritize for diversification, to reduce reliance on oil exports besides just agriculture?
We are blessed with the extractive sector, the extractive company sector, in the sense that we have the mining. We are blessed with the raw material for producing cement. which I think is a CaCO3. I was meant to understand that Dangote today now have a factory in Ethiopia, and it makes more profit having a factory in Ethiopia than having a factory back in Nigeria. This is to say that our policies are not friendly to foreign direct investment. This is we are blessed with these natural resources. So for me, if you drive through from Lokoja to Abuja, you know that Nigeria is blessed. So for me, I think our policymakers should bring in experts. Let's look at how we can grow these make policies that will grow these natural resources we'll be blessed with. And most importantly, insecurity and steady power supply will help us grow from a consuming country economy to a producing economy.
Many thanks, Elvis, for coming on. Appreciate you for doing this with us.
Thank you for having me.
Move away from that now and on to a developing business story. The Nigerian Deposit Insurance Corporation says the payment of depositors in Heritage Bank will commence before the end of the week. The NDIC Managing Director Bello Hassan disclosed this on Wednesday at a briefing on the liquidation of the bank in Abuja. The NDIC commenced the liquidation of Heritage Bank following the revocation of its banking license by the Central Bank of Nigeria on Monday. Hassan said the total bank deposits at Heritage Bank stands at 650 billion naira, while its loan portfolio stands at over 700 billion naira.
Documents, evidence that we tender in court. And we have been engaging the judiciary for their support. What support do we need from the judiciary? When cases relating to debt recovery or liquidation generally are brought before them, what we need, the support we need from them is expedited hearing. Let them give it accelerated hearing so that justice can be served. We have been engaging with them and pleading with them that, look, give these cases accelerated hearing and understand that when we bring a debt recovery case before any court, what we are trying to say is this person has borrowed from the bank and we establish our case and we want it to be given accelerated hearing so that justice is served. When money is recovered, it's not coming to NDIC, we are only collecting to pay depositors. It's not our money, it's depositors' money. So if cases are delayed, it is depositors that suffer, and they quite appreciate that. And we believe that when such cases are brought before them, they will give them accelerated hearing.
You're watching news now on News Central TV. There's more after this break. Stay with us. As the world marks 2024 World Environment Day, the Media Awareness and Justice Initiative, MAGI, has urged the federal government of Nigeria to embrace technological solutions in curbing numerous challenges that have hindered a healthy environment for sustainable development in the country. Furthermore, MAGI stated that the lack of adequate data collection and evidence-based intervention has continued to contribute to the growing effects of climate change. It cited the rising cases of coastal community flooding in the south and increased dissertation in the northern parts of Nigeria as examples. Now, in a statement issued to commemorate the 2024 World Environment Day, the group said that Nigeria is one of the countries of the global south carrying the biggest impacts of land and water degradation from constant oil spills due to oil exploration and extraction. And now to discuss this further, I am being joined by founder, the African Narrative on Climate Change, Aaron John. Aaron, how are you doing?
How are you?
I'm fine, thank you very much. Thank you so much for coming on. Let's get started. What specific technological solutions can be implemented to address environmental challenges, such as coastal flooding and, desertification in Nigeria when, the northerners or parts of the north is being fled?
Thank you very much. I think for this particular question, the understanding of technology is very crucial. So the technology is what helps us to optimize. So for flooding, of course, early warning systems are crucial. right? Would inspire us using sensors and metering systems to understand, water level rises and weather patterns. Some of those technology actually exist already. I know that weather prediction and understanding. But the big question from that is, despite the technology being available, from the agencies in which have this technology to the vulnerable communities who needs the early warning systems that needed to be sounded so that they can evacuate early. That's what's missing. So that infrastructure between the tool itself and how it can be used.
And I mean, you just
Margie spoke about.
Right. Now, you just cited some of these technological tools and methods that can be used, but what are some successful examples of evidence-based interventions that have helped mitigate, environmental issues in other regions, and how can these be applied in Nigeria? Because Nigeria is always a peculiar situation in anything at all, whether it's business, finance, even the movie industry and entertainment as well.
Thank you very much. So I'll share a personal story. I was the Chief Resilience Officer for the Kaduna Office of Resilience and the Director of Business for the Capital Territory in Kaduna. And we embarked on a flood prevention initiative in 2022. We try to understand the level rise, how high the river Kaduna gets, and when does that cause flooding? So at a particular length of the river, it causes flooding. So what we did was try to deepen the river by dredging and removing sediments from under the river and also expanding the streams. And what that did was actually reduce flood tremendously by over 99%. And we're able to curb, flooding in 2 years, in 2022 and 2023 from this. So understanding the peculiarities of the situations that we have and the nuances in different parts of Nigeria, I think is the basis for how we can address this situation. There's no need to go elsewhere to find these evidence-based solutions. There are lots of people implementing it right here in Nigeria, and this is just an example of that.
And I mean, you are a CSO, and there are many other CSOs who have called for intervention as well. But which now takes us to my next question about the role, that the community engagement plays in implementing technological solutions for environmental challenges. How can it be implemented, or how can it be enhanced in terms of, collaboration?
Understanding is key as well, right? Going into each of these community, the peculiarity of their issue. And we can't really talk about technological advancement without community engagement, because what works for Sokoto, for example, might not work for Benue, and what works for Benue won't work for Niger State. So community engagement is key. They hold the key to historical evidence and knowledge of what's been going on, for example, in the last 10 years. So that engagement with them sort of helps us to develop tailored tools that we can use in adaptation and mitigation strategies. And I think any design outside of a focus of community engagement is faulted from the beginning.
You just mentioned one strategy there, so which takes me now to about strategies, right? Nigeria as a whole, especially in vulnerable coastal areas and even arid regions of Nigeria, what are some specific strategies that Nigeria can adopt to better adapt to the effects of climate change, especially in these vulnerable areas?
I keep saying understanding because it's very crucial. We think we understand the nuances, but I've seen a lot of gaps that exist between what we think is going on and what's actually going on the ground. So for immediate short-term and immediate strategy, infrastructure, there's a lot of gaps that exist between infrastructure holes. So that stress test and understanding the vulnerabilities of our infrastructure end to end would allow us know where to prioritize. And I'm talking about our road systems, I'm talking about our energy systems, I'm talking about our drainage systems, right? Education is also a priority. People need to understand what the conversations around climate change is. It doesn't really have to be technical, but they need to know that there's a change in how things are going to be going forward. Farmers need to know why there's a change in weather patterns and how that affects them. People in rural areas need to know why they might experience more flooding than usual. People in coastal cities need to know about some of these things as well. So grassroots education is key. Another fundamental strategy that I think is important is building resilient infrastructure. And this is where states and local governments come in, because a whole lot of this regeneration and restoration also is key, from tree planting exercises to combating desertification in northern Nigeria. Because some of the areas that we have identified as are experiencing high rate of desertification are also places that are flagged as no-go area due to insurgency. So how do you go to these areas when there are security challenges anyway? So technologies like drone technology can be used to sort of drop drought-resilient seeds that can be activated by rainfall. So those areas are prime and ripe for technological adoption. Last but not least, I think this has to do with urban planners, because if more people are going to move into our cities, it means that cities are the hub for adaptation and mitigation. So urban planners need to begin to rethink how we build cities. Lagos, for example, the ocean knows where its boundaries is, but do we actually know where the ocean boundary, resides? Urban planners and city dwellers and governments need to begin to think about a vertical and inward approach of city development rather than an expansive and horizontal outward focus at development. These strategies are not easy, but I think they're also doable and can be implemented at different levels of society.
Aaron, many thanks for coming on and very insightful discussion we just had. Appreciate you for doing this with us.
Thank you very much. It's my pleasure.
And that's Aaron John. We'll move away from that now, and this time to more stories, but inside the northern part of Nigeria. Pulka town in Gwaza local government area witnessed a significant moment of relief as the governor of Borno State facilitated the distribution of grains donated by the Nigerian federal government to 10,000 families. Now, the aid is part of ongoing efforts to bolster resettlement initiatives and provide relief to vulnerable communities affected by conflict. News Center's Umaru Kirawa completes the report.
A beautiful day to smile by families and victims of insurgency in Nigeria's northeast state of Borno, particularly Pulka town, a home to many widows. Bags of assorted emergency food items, including maize, millet and sorghum, being presented to them by the state government.
On behalf of the government and people of Borno State, to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu for this great initiative. This is not only the first support that we received from him. We have received similar support from the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria in terms of food and non-food items. Even in terms of financial support, states do receive some financial support from the federal government, and I want to acknowledge this support.
The government says it is mitigating the impact of food insecurity and ensuring the well-being of its citizens during challenging times. The rural dwellers were encouraged to embrace farming as a sustainable way forward.
Civilian jete duk zan ba su kan aiki lokacin noma da safe su fita. Su ga su sai a baki gwanaki gaba da gwanaki su gan ko wani yana zuwa ko baya zuwa.
We want to convey our appreciation to the federal government under the leadership of our amiable president, ever conscious president, the target president, and the only president that takes painful decisions for the development of the country, distinguished Senator Bola Ahmed Tinubu.
Governor Zulum also supervised the distribution of cash assistance and wrappers to vulnerable women and widows in Pulka town, provided by the state government.
We are also providing 10,000 naira each to about 22,000 women in Fulka, Warabe, Ngoshe, and Kirawa communities of Goda local government areas, and Erafa. This is coming from the government of Borno State.
As residents continue to rebuild their lives from the ashes of the past, initiatives such as this serves as vital lifelines in fostering stability and promoting sustainable development in the aftermath of adversity. In Pulka for News Central, Umaru Kirawa.
And on to security matters, a coalition of civil society organizations in Nigeria have expressed worry over the continuous state of insecurity in the country. The coalition, while mourning victims of mass atrocities in the country, say that the last 1 year of the current administration has witnessed a series of security challenges which has led to the death of over 4,000 innocent citizens. News Central's Emmanuel Bagudu reports.
For these humanitarian and civil rights advocates in Nigeria, it's another opportunity to take stock of the current security situation in the country. For them, while the federal government continues to celebrate its first year anniversary, the figures available of the number of the killed and wounded should put Nigerians in a state of national mourning.
Since the commemoration of the last National Day of Mourning 2023 on May 28, 2023, and President Tinubu's first year in office, our records show that at least 4,416 people were killed and at least 434 were abducted in incidents of mass atrocities across the country.
We commiserate and stand with Nigerians who have lost loved ones and property to mass atrocities and demand justice for the dead, the displaced, and the safe return of all abducted persons.
Taking a cue from the nation's constitution, which places the responsibility of the protection of lives and properties of citizens on government, they urge government to live up to its responsibility.
Well, I am here to express on behalf of my civil society that the federal government as presently constituted and run under President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is failing in its responsibility to protect the life and property of the Nigerian people.
They are also calling for justice for those who have been killed and wounded. In Abuja for News Central, I am Emmanuel Bagudu.
South Africa's ruling ANC said Wednesday it had reached out to rivals to form a government of national unity after failing to win an outright majority in last week's general election. The final tally gave President Cyril Ramaphosa's African National Congress, ANC, 159 members in the 400-seat National Assembly, its lowest score in a general election. ANC spokeswoman said the party held explorative talks with several others as it attempts to secure enough parliamentary support to form a government and elect a president. Its decision-making body was to meet on Thursday to vet all options, including trying to form a minority.
At this point in time, the conversation is looking at the government of national unity, because this is what the people of South Africa have said to us, that put together a multi-party arrangement that works for the benefit of South Africa. As to which we have been meeting with all parties that are keen to contribute ideas on how we can collectively move our country forward to form a government that ensures national unity and stability in a country that continues the transformation of South Africa and safeguards our constitutional democracy. These include meetings with delegations from the Inkatha Freedom Party, the Economic Freedom Fighters, the Democratic Alliance, the NFP, and the PA, the Patriotic Alliance Committee, that the ANC has repeatedly reached out to the MK party for an engagement meeting with no positive response. Our door remains open as we continue to reach out to every party that is keen to contribute positively.
Millions of children in Zimbabwe are facing hunger due to a worsening drought impacting farming communities across the country. The El Nino-related weather conditions have caused significant crop failures, leaving families struggling to put food on the table. UNICEF has launched a multi-million-dollar emergency appeal to address the rapidly growing needs of children affected by the drought. Well, there is more in this report. Take a look.
In drought-stricken Zimbabwe, hunger grieves the nation. Here on the outskirts of the capital, children receive a lifeline: a small portion of macaroni and soybean stew. For many of these children, this meal might be their only one today. A volunteer group prepares and distributes 2 meals a day to an average of 1,500 children across 5 kitchens. The makeshift feeding station was the idea of Samantha Muzoroki and is the newest of 5 similar centers run by the immigration lawyers Kuchengetana's Trust.
My intervention when we started in Chitongweza was from a maternal point of view. I felt that as a mother and as a woman and a member of a community, I should chip in when I hear the cries of a child next door saying they haven't eaten since yesterday. I had a moral obligation to satiate that need that had come up in my community, only to realize that it was bigger than I had expected.
In Epworth, a semi-formal settlement east of the capital, families are skipping meals, while children are missing school as families struggle to find food. 36-year-old Letwin Mande is a mother of 4 whose fruit and vegetable store is struggling to find stock and customers. She travels far to get water in a nearby borehole, while her 4 children manage to feed only twice a day.
Hanno wechikafu yakatutumira zvekutoti vana vacho vechikoro chaiwo vakatokwanisa kumwanira kana maputi anokwanisa enda kuchikoro hachatakura sekutakura kwaimboita gore rakapera mvura ichinaya zviri nani. Pakubika mazuva ano takubika kana kamwe chete pazuva masikati tozozviona manheru kuitira kuti chikafu chacho panenge pasina.
The United Nations has appealed for over $400 million to help people affected by the drought. UNICEF also launched an urgent $84.9 million appeal to provide life-saving interventions.
This is for children who are most vulnerable in these severity 3 and 4 districts, covering the areas that I've mentioned: health, nutrition, water, sanitation, hygiene, education, social protection, and also the women, as I mentioned a moment ago. And it is up to $84.9 million.
At least 7.6 million Zimbabweans, nearly half the population, need aid. President Emmerson Mnangagwa declared a state of disaster, estimating a need of $2 billion to address this crisis.
But now in sports, ahead of the 2024 Paris Olympic Games, Nigeria Basketball Federation has released a list of 20 female basketballers for the first phase of the Tigress training camp to hold in FCT Abuja beginning Friday, June 7th, 2024. Now, the Tigress will represent Nigeria at Olympics Games and will be tutored by Rena Wakama, who led the team to a record-equaling 4th Afro-Basket title in Rwanda in 2023, becoming the first woman coach to win the tournament in the process. Now, on the list of players signed by NBBF Secretary General, and that's Peter Njoku, players from mostly based in Nigeria. Now, only Ifunanya Okoro, who plays for Tidaspor in Iceland, Agatha, who plays for Energies Basketball Club in Benin Republic, and Afrobasket winner, and that's Marju Natu Musa, who lines up for Celta Zokar in Spain, are the only foreign-based players. I move away from basketball now, and this time to our correspondent who is live in Uyo. Now, we understand Nigeria's Super Eagles are gearing up for a crucial match against their African rival, South Africa. Now, this is a very key World Cup qualifier match taking place on Friday, June 7th, 2024 at the Godswill Akpabio International Stadium in Uyo, Nigeria. Now, the Super Eagles are looking to bounce back after 2 opening draws and will be aiming for a win against Bafana. With new players joining the squad, the pressure is on. And now joining us is our correspondent Onye Obaru, who is live in Uyo to give us updates. Onye, thank you so much for still just sticking around. What update do you have for us at this moment?
Thank you, Judith. I'm standing right now. Just behind me is the Godswill International Stadium, Godswill Akpabio International Stadium. We're supposed to be here for the Super Eagles training, but at this time you can see the gates locked behind me. No journalists allowed, nobody allowed, because the Super Eagles are having a closed door training. This is just for Coach Finidi George to have everyone's hands on deck ahead of this crucial encounter. It's just 24 hours and few hours down to the D-Day, 7th of June, when the Super Eagles will host the Bafana of South Africa. The delayed coming of the players, as I did reveal earlier, has really hampered some plans. We're not even sure if Coach Finidi has got his starting 11 already for that encounter. So behind closed doors, the Eagles are trying to tighten all the loose ends, dot the I's, cross the T's ahead of the encounter. And we have the Deputy President of the Super Eagles Supporters Club here right now, and we're here to feel his pulse. At this time, Jimo Alawo will join us to know what the Supporters Club, how optimistic are they heading up to this encounter at the Godswill Akpabio International Stadium. Thank you so much, Jimo, for joining me on this time. We really would like to know, the NLC has delayed the flights, made a delay to the flights of players coming into this encounter. And of course, at this time, first game on the official capacity for Coach Finidi George. What are your hopes? Are your hopes up with these players' late arrival and the fact that at this time, they need to make sure they nip this game in the board to get the needed points?
God grace. Good evening, everyone. I believe in Super Eagle and our players. I can tell you they are professional and their experience, where I can check them on the club. But what we need is teamwork. And I believe in 24 hours you can do the teamwork, because we have different phases of the coaches, from the experienced coaches from different places from the world. You can see Finidi, he played for Nigeria, and they also is a coach, and the underground, he know what he's doing, he can do more. I believe in our player that experience. You can see Lukman is arrived. Lukman, he know what to do, but what they need that they don't play together before. But for this night, what the closed door, I know that they want to do the teamwork. And then on Friday, show Nigeria we are winning by God's grace.
Okay, let's know the plans of the Super Eagles Supporters Club. They will be playing on home turf. They need the 12th man. What are the plans coming from the Super Eagles Supporters Club?
Yeah, Super Eagles Supporters Club, we are here since Sunday, because ECOM did a foundation charity match. We are here. We are still here till now. And hope from tomorrow, different states, there will be lunch with Uyo, because national headquarters are here, and the Aqua Ibo chapter are here. And then from Cross River, they are coming tomorrow. From Abia State, they are coming tomorrow. Bayelsa State, they are coming tomorrow. Some of people from Lagos, they are still coming. Abuja, they are coming. We are here fully. The supporters club area, forget it, we are here to support them. Fully, all the house has coming.
We will be hoping that they can get the needed supports they need heading into that encounter against the Bafana of South Africa. You can see this is just the camp before the storm. This place would be a beehive of activity come Friday, when the Super Eagles will host the South African team. We are still waiting, of course, the time ticking over here to hear when the South Africans will land here in Nigeria, especially Uyo, where, of course, they should have their first training on the turf at the Godswill Akpabio International Stadium. Judith?
Yeah, well, Onye, many thanks. And we're also cheering the team on as well. This is the first outing for Finidi George, and so all expectations are high, and so we look forward to it. We're cheering on. Many thanks again, Onye, for doing this. We appreciate you. And that's Onyo Baro, who's our correspondent live in Uyo, Akwa Ibom, just giving us update there as the Super Eagles are training and getting ready for a big qualifier this Friday against Bafana. Well, that's all at this hour, but before we go, let's take another look at some of the major stories. Osun APC expels former Governor Rauf Aregbesola over anti-party activities. Legislative Committee recommends probe of ex-Kaduna Governor El Rufai. South Africa's ruling ANC seeks national unity government. Now remember that you can send us your eyewitness report to the WhatsApp number now showing on the screen. And also make sure to follow us on social media. We are at News Central TV. You can also watch News Central live on DSTV channel 422, Star Times channel 274, Avo TV and YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I am Judith at TV.